So, Spider-Man Brand New Day just crossed $2.5 billion at the global box office.
Which is just a completely staggering number.
It really is. I mean, it officially surpassed Avengers Infinity War.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it is sitting just shy of Endgame right now.
That is just wild.
It's insane. And it holds a 90% critic rating.
Right.
And a 98% verified audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Which is the one the studios actually care about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, looking at it now, it feels like this inevitable, just flawless victory for the MCU right ahead of Avengers Doomsday.
Right. It looks like a slam dunk.
Right. But the stack of behind-the-scenes production logs and internal studio tracking data and industry reports that we are deep diving into today, it reveals a pretty terrifying reality.
Terrifying is definitely the word for it.
Yeah, because this movie was a hair's breadth away from being an absolute disaster.
Oh, yeah. It almost fell apart so many times.
So, okay, let's unpack this, starting with the very first battle in development. Because to make a $2.5 billion masterpiece, the creative team first had to basically go to war against their own studio's instinct for an easy cash grab.
Yeah, and the initial conflict documented in these early tracking reports, it's just a textbook case of corporate risk aversion. Because following the massive, culture-dominating success of No Way Home, Sony's immediate impulse was to just go back to the well.
Of course.
The mandate from the top was clear. They were like, do another massive multiverse movie.
Just repeat the formula.
Exactly. Bring back Tobey Maguire, bring back Andrew Garfield, and just do it again.
Right. Well, I have to play devil's advocate for a second here.
Okay, go for it.
Because if I am sitting on the board of directors for a major studio and I'm looking at the numbers, abandoning the multiverse gimmick right before Secret Wars comes out, that sounds like corporate malpractice to me.
I get that. I totally get that.
Right. I mean, they have a proven formula that just printed literally billions of dollars. Why would you gamble on a completely different approach?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it was actually the only way to ensure the long-term survival of the intellectual property.
Okay, how so?
Because multiverse cameos, by their very nature, they run on meta-nostalgia.
Right.
The audience in the theater is cheering because they recognize an actor from a movie they watched like 15 years ago.
Yeah, they're pointing at the screen like, oh, I know that guy.
Exactly. They are experiencing out-of-universe recognition rather than actually engaging with the narrative unfolding in front of them.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. So it is an incredible sugar rush for the audience.
Yeah.
But it has a spectacularly short shelf life.
You can't just keep doing it over and over.
No, you really can't.
It reminds me of like a tech company relying entirely on some viral marketing stunt to boost their Q3 earnings.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right? Like, sure, it spikes the graph today and the shareholders are super happy for a minute.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fix the underlying software bugs. Eventually, the product has to stand on its own merits, or the user base will just completely abandon it.
That is a perfect parallel.
Yeah.
Grounded storytelling guarantees long-term franchise health.
Right.
Because the core appeal of Spider-Man, the actual DNA of the character, was always designed to be fiercely relatable.
Right. The whole friendly neighborhood thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He is the guy who misses his rent payment because he was busy stopping a mugger in an alleyway.
Right. He's not a billionaire.
No. And Tom Holland and Kevin Feige, they recognize that if Peter Parker doesn't learn to stand on his own 2 feet as a young adult, completely stripped of alternate universe mentors and billionaire tech and all that stuff, the character just fundamentally stops growing.
Well, and the behind-the-scenes timelines show that Holland really took ownership of that growth.
Oh, big time.
Because for his previous 6 outings in the MCU, he was kind of just the kid on set, right?
Yeah, he was the newcomer.
But for Brand New Day, he negotiated this unprecedented level of creative control.
Which is huge for an actor of his age in a franchise like this.
It really is. I mean, he was sitting in the writer's room every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, actively pitching ideas alongside the producers to try to figure out what this stripped-down, broke Peter Parker actually looked like.
Right.
And one of the most fascinating details from those writer's room sessions is a pitch that Holland jokingly called spider puberty.
I love this part. This is so fascinating.
It's so weird, but it works, right?
Yeah. Well, the mechanics of that pitch ended up fundamentally shaping the visual language of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because Holland asked a very practical question about the lore.
Okay.
He was like, what happens if Peter's powers start changing as he gets older?
Right, because he's not a kid anymore.
Exactly. He is transitioning from a kid into an adult. His body is undergoing intense stress.
Yeah.
His responsibilities are heavier.
So his body reacts.
Right. Logically, his mutation would adapt to his physical and emotional state.
Which is how we got the inclusion of the organic webs in this one. And I know a lot of fans instantly connected that back to the Sam Raimi films.
Right, with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. But the psychological application here feels completely different to me.
Oh, it totally is. Because in the early MCU films, Peter's mechanical web shooters, they were a symbol of his intellect.
Right. He built them himself.
And they symbolized his connection to Tony Stark. They were an external tool.
Yeah.
Giving him organic webs in this new phase, it symbolizes the inescapable internal struggle between his humanity and his Spider-Man persona.
Oh, wow. So it's much deeper.
Yeah, it leans slightly into body horror.
Right, because it's coming out of his actual wrists.
Exactly. It's no longer just a suit he can take off. It is a biological reality that he cannot escape.
Wow.
And it manifests precisely when he is at his most vulnerable.
But, you know, because Holland fought for this super intimate, psychologically grounded story, it created a massive problem once they hit post-production.
Oh, yeah, the post-production stuff is wild.
Yeah. Right, because a grounded script is actually a major liability if the studio suddenly gets scared.
Yes.
And according to Holland's own comments from the final days of the press tour, they almost completely destroyed this movie in the cutting room.
Yeah, we are looking at basically the most terrifying phase of the development cycle for any creative team.
The test screenings.
The test screenings.
Yeah.
Because the studio took an early cut of this incredibly personal, methodical character study.
Right.
Showed it to random test audiences and then completely panicked.
Which is crazy to think about now.
Oh, yeah. They fundamentally changed the movie in a new edit based on that survey data.
And Holland publicly stated that the creative team, quote unquote, hated it.
Hated it, yeah.
But I need to push back again here.
Okay.
Because if I'm a studio executive backing a $200 million budget, a test screening isn't a trap to me. It is my insurance policy.
I see where you're coming from.
Right. I am asking the people who will actually pay for the tickets what they want to see. Why is it inherently wrong to listen to the focus group?
What's fascinating here is the underlying psychology of a test screening.
Okay.
And why they so frequently fail to identify what makes a movie actually great.
Right.
You are taking a unified, delicate, artistic vision, and you're handing it over to a tiny sample size of a demographic.
Who are just like random people from a mall or something.
Exactly. And these people just watched an unfinished cut with missing visual effects.
Right. The green screens are still there.
Yeah, pre-viz animation, all that. And then they're handed a tablet or a paper survey and asked to intellectualize an emotional experience on a scale of 1 to 10.
That's a really weird way to consume art.
It is. And audiences don't actually know what they want until they see it properly executed.
Yeah, they usually just ask for the things they already know they like from other movies.
Exactly.
If you ask a random person on the street what they want in a superhero film, they're going to describe a theme park ride. Right? More explosions, more jokes, more cameos, because that is the easiest thing to articulate on a survey.
Exactly. They're rarely going to write down, I want a slow, methodical character study about grief and financial anxiety.
Right. That doesn't sound fun on a survey.
No, even though that might be the exact story that resonates with them most deeply when they actually watch it.
Yeah.
So when executives panic and alter a film based on those aggregate scores, the mathematical result is always a sanding down of the rough edges.
You just get a bland product.
Right. But the rough edges are what give a narrative its friction. They're what make it memorable.
And Holland and his team just refused to let the movie be diluted like that.
Yeah, they fought back hard.
And that protective instinct, it wasn't just happening in post-production either.
No, it started way earlier.
Yeah, it started directly on the set. There's this staggering anecdote from the daily production logs.
Oh, the Zendaya scene?
Yes. So Holland and Zendaya were in the middle of shooting this highly emotional scene. The cameras were rolling. The crew was all set up. The money was literally burning by the minute.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars just ticking away.
Exactly. And they realized in the moment the dialogue just wasn't working. It felt forced.
Which is so common on big sets.
Right. But in a typical blockbuster machine, the mandate is usually just push through, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's always fix it in editing, fix it with a voiceover, just get the footage and we'll deal with it later.
Yeah, just keep moving. But instead, they literally physically stop production.
Which is unheard of.
Yeah. They pull the director, Destin Daniel Cretton, aside.
Yeah.
And the three of them just huddle up on this multi-million-dollar set And they refused to move forward until they stripped the scene down and figure out a more honest version of it.
And that absolute refusal to compromise on authenticity directly translates to the visual integrity of the film, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if the emotion is real, the lighting has to be real.
Yeah, you can't have fake lighting for a scene like that.
Right. The visual choices here are a direct rebellion against the current industry standard.
Okay, let's talk about that, because this movie actively rejected that muddy, flat, made-for-streaming aesthetic that is just dominating blockbusters right now.
Yes. That look is primarily a result of shooting in a volume.
Right, those huge wraparound LED screen stages.
Yeah, they've become completely ubiquitous in the industry.
And the volume seems like incredible technology on paper.
Oh, it's an engineering marvel.
But something about it always feels a little bit hollow when you watch the final product. Like, you can just tell.
Well, the physics of the lighting are fundamentally different.
Okay, explain that.
So LED screens emit light, right?
Right.
But it doesn't wrap around the subjects or create depth the same way that natural sunlight or a dedicated directional key light does.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so cinematographers are often forced to overlight everything on a volume stage.
Why did they do that?
So the visual effects artists can easily isolate the actors later in post.
Oh, I see.
But doing that removes all depth of field and all cinematic shadow.
It just looks flat.
Exactly.
You know, one of the industry breakdowns we reviewed had a brilliant comparison for this trend.
Oh, yeah, I know the quote you're talking about.
They described the recent era of blockbuster cinematography as looking like an apartments.com ad featuring the Grandmaster.
That is so brutally accurate.
It really is. Everything is just cheap, uniformly bright, and just completely, utterly devoid of texture.
Yeah. But Brand New Day stepped out into the real world.
Yes.
The cinematography utilized actual light, real city streets, and proper color grading that reflected the actual grim mood of the story.
Right. It didn't suffer from the claustrophobic, convoluted pandemic-era restrictions that really heavily hindered the visual scope of No Way Home.
Not at all. You can literally feel the cold New York air in these shots.
Yeah, it's palpable.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have real sets, we have real emotion, we have street-level cinematography.
Right.
Which means you obviously need a street-level villain.
Yeah.
And this brings us to what might be the most chaotic part of this entire production timeline.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Because this fierce dedication to getting all the details right, it led to a shockingly late, incredibly high-stakes change to the film's main antagonist.
The development reports outlining this pivot, they read like a thriller.
They really do. So, writers Chris McKenna and Erik Sommers originally planned a story heavily modeled after Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Right, that kind of Simon Says game.
Exactly. They wanted a mysterious bomber, a villain basically using mind control to toy with Spider-Man on this grueling chase through the 5 boroughs.
Yeah, just pushing him to his absolute physical and mental limits.
And their initial target for this role was a classic from the comic rogues gallery, Chameleon.
Right, the master of disguise.
Right. And the reports indicate there were even serious talks about making this version of Chameleon a female character just to freshen up the dynamic.
Which is a cool idea.
It is. A ground-level psychological thriller where you don't know who to trust it fits that gritty aesthetic perfectly.
It does. But the interconnected nature of modern franchise filmmaking presented a massive roadblock for them here.
Always does.
Yeah. The writers realized Sony had just utilized Dimitri the Chameleon in Kraven the Hunter.
Right.
Furthermore, they looked at the broader MCU landscape and realized they had just concluded a massive storyline about villains hiding behind shifting faces with the scrolls.
Right. Secret invasion.
Exactly.
So the creative team realized the audience was basically going to suffer from severe mask fatigue.
Yeah, it would just feel incredibly derivative.
So they find themselves in this impossible situation.
Right.
They have this incredible script structure built entirely around the concept of a mind hopper.
Like a mind control antagonist who is slowly breaking down Peter Parker's sanity.
Exactly. But they have no villain to actually play the part.
Right. And this limitation forced one of the most brilliant pivots in recent blockbuster history.
Oh, yeah.
They preserved the mind control concept, they kept the psychological torture aspect, but they applied it to a completely different character from a totally different corner of the Marvel Universe.
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey.
Yes. And here's where it gets really interesting. Look at the timeline of this pivot in the logs.
It's nuts.
They did not have this lockdown months in advance.
No.
Sadie Sink was cast as Jean Grey, and she was literally on a plane to start filming 1 week later.
Just 1 week.
1 week. Just think about the logistical nightmare of that. You are locking in the main villain for a $2.5 billion movie literally days before the cameras roll.
The ripple effects across the production departments would be just staggering.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
The wardrobe department has to design and build entirely new costumes.
In a week.
Right. The stunt coordinators have to scrap their entire pre-viz choreography.
Because it's completely different.
Exactly. Telekinesis fights very differently than hand-to-hand combat with a disguise guy.
Right.
And the shooting schedule has to be completely overhauled based on the new actors' availability.
Yeah.
So this raises an important question.
Okay.
How does a production of this magnitude actually survive such a massive late-stage change without collapsing into just a disjointed mess?
Well, I'm guessing it is because the skeleton of the house was already fully built and inspected, basically.
That's a great way to put it.
Yep.
The production survived because the thematic core of the villain was rock solid.
Right.
McKenna and Sommers hadn't just written a blank space in the script that said, insert villain here.
Yeah, it wasn't just punch bad guy in face.
Right. They had written a highly specific function, a master of manipulation who could attack Peter Parker's mind when he was already questioning his own identity.
Oh, okay.
So the function of the villain in the story was perfectly defined.
I see.
Whether that function was being executed by Chameleon wearing a mask or Jean Grey using telepathy, the emotional pressure on Peter remained exactly the same.
That's fascinating.
They didn't have to rewrite the hero's journey.
Yep.
They just changed the avatar delivering the obstacles.
Wow. Of course, though, the moment the movie came out, a vocal minority on social media started complaining.
Oh, naturally.
Yeah, people were whining that Jean Grey wasn't a classic Spider-Man villain,
Right.
arguing that her inclusion was just a cynical studio setup for the upcoming X-Men movies.
Which completely ignores the cinematic achievement happening right in front of them.
Exactly.
The execution was universally praised by critics and the broader audience because she wasn't just winking at the camera.
Right. It wasn't a meta joke.
No, she wasn't dropping exposition about mutants.
Right.
She was an absolutely terrifying, grounded antagonist that perfectly serviced Peter's story.
Yeah.
The creative team made a choice that prioritized the emotional reality of the film over the rigid dogma of comic book accuracy.
Which is exactly why it worked so well.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for us? I mean, we've looked at the boardroom fights over the multiverse, the near disaster of those focus group test screenings, the rejection of volume lighting, and a literal buzzer beater villain casting.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Why does any of this matter to the person listening right now who might never even work on a Hollywood set?
Because the entire timeline is a profound lesson in prioritizing function over form.
Okay.
It is a masterclass in creative integrity that applies to almost any industry.
Yeah, whether you are launching a new software product or starting a small business or even just writing a major strategic report for your company.
Right.
Trusting the underlying function of your vision is completely paramount.
It is.
Because it is incredibly tempting to take the phoned-in route.
It's the easy way out.
Yeah, it is so easy to just look at the short-term data, listen to the safest test audience notes, and just play the greatest hits.
Yep.
But the things that actually leave a mark, the things that resonate and succeed on a massive scale, they require you to fiercely protect the core function of your idea from being watered down into a generic form.
And Holland and his team, they could have coasted.
Oh, totally.
They really could have. They could have let the studio edit the film into just a generic, well-lit action movie.
Right.
But they didn't. They stopped production on a multi-million-dollar set. They pushed back against the algorithm.
Yeah.
And they fought for the quiet character moments and the psychological weight of the story.
And because they did, they proved that a deeply personal back-to-basics story could completely obliterate the box office.
They sure did.
Which leaves us with one final puzzle to mull over.
Okay.
Now that this grounded, intensely character-driven Spider-Man movie has out-earned these massive multiversal spectacles,
Yeah.
what happens next?
That is the big question. Will studios learn the right lesson here? That audiences crave authenticity and a unified artistic vision?
I hope so.
Or will we see executives just looking at a spreadsheet next year, completely missing the heart of this film and trying to mathematically weaponize groundedness as their next hollow formulaic mandate?
Groundedness as the new corporate algorithm. Now that is a truly dark timeline.
It really is.
Definitely something to think about the next time you see a seemingly flawless success story. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.